Hi, my friends, and welcome to another exciting one. Today, we are doing a perfume bottle render from scratch. Once again, it's going to be fun and exciting. We're going to learn how to create these cool spikes that you see around the glass. We're going to learn a lot of cool tricks and trips along the way. Without much else, open up your blender and let's get started. Before we start, please check out my cosmetic bottles pack, which contains 20 cosmetic bottles, 5 pre-made scenes, materials, gobos, and a lot more to help you create professional looking cosmetic renders in no time. Link in the description below. So as usual, I'm using the latest version of Blender. Any version will work as well. We go to General to start from a fresh Blender file. So let's select our cube and then our light and hit on X to delete them from our scene. So next, let's add in our reference image. So we are going to hit on X to add in our reference image here, right? We are going to add it on the right orthographic view. So there are several ways of adding in your reference image. You can do Shift A, image, then you can hit on reference, select where you save your reference image and then add it to your scene. Or you can just drag and drop your reference image into the scene. So once I have my reference image dragged into my scene, I'll hit on N and I'm going to reset this transform, set everything to 0, 0, 0, so that my reference image is right at the center of my scene. So once I have this done, I can just turn this on and then click here so that we will not mistakenly move our reference image. Next, let's go to our reference image data properties. Let's make sure we have our opacity checked. Let's decrease the opacity a little bit. Then let's set to front so that it's always seen when we are in our orthographic view. So once we have this done, let's start modeling our bottle. So first, let's hit on Shift A and then let's add in a cylinder, right? So this is it. We have our cylinder. Let's change the number of vertices to 24. I think that works fine. And then let's go back to our right orthographic view. Let's hit on G and then let's position our cylinder right in place. So we can scale it up until it fits our reference image as close as possible. So once we have it done, you can hit on Tab to go into edit mode. Make sure we have our edge select mode active. Alt click to select this edge. And then let's bring it down a little bit to somewhere here. And then next we are going to do our extrude and scale. So we can do E to extrude to this side, S to scale it down, E to extrude to this side, S to scale it down, E to one last extrusion here, S to scale it down. Then we can do E to extrude here and then S to scale it down. Then we can do a final extrusion like this, right? So this is what we have so far. Nice and simple. Let's make sure we have our face select mode active. Select on this face, hit on X, and then let's delete our face so that we delete our face. So we have something like this. Next, let's add in a thickness. So to add in our thickness, first let's tab out of edit mode. We can do Ctrl+A, and let's apply our scale for now. So once we have our scale applied, we can hit on tab to go back into edit mode once again. A to select everything, and then we can do Alt+E to extrude faces along normals. So let's extrude it inside to add in a little bit of thickness like this. So if you go to our properties for the extrude faces, we can just check on offset even so that our extrusion is evenly offsetted, right? So once we have this, we can go to our wireframe mode to see what we have. So it's looking nice and simple so far, so good. Next, let's go and check our reference image. And then let's hide our cylinder for a second. So if you hide a cylinder, if you take a look at our reference image, the perfume, the actual content of the perfume starts right somewhere here. So let's fix the inner part of our bottle to reflect that. So let's bring back our cylinder once again. Then let's make sure we have our edge mode active. Alt click to select the inner part of the edge, and then we can hit on G, Z, bring it up until it's almost the same level as our perfume bottle. Now we have this. Let's add in some loop cut inside, not outside. So we can do Ctrl+R, and then you can see how it switched. So this outside and then this inside. we can just scroll our mouse wheel to add in a couple of loop cuts right inside like this. And then once we are done, we can go to our solid shading view, and then let's add in some loop cuts outside. So I will do Control R, then I'll scroll my mouse wheel until I have 6 number of loop cuts. So you can add or decrease your loop cuts right here. So 6, I think 6 looks fine for me. So we have 6 number of loop cuts nicely. So let's hit on tab to jump out of edit mode, and this is what we have so far. So once we have this, let's take a look at how we can create that nice spikes that we see on our bottle, right? So we are going to do that using poke faces. So we have to select all these entire faces and then hit on poke faces to poke the faces, right? So now you have to go to the side, which is our Y orthographic view. Let's add our image reference for now, and then let's select everything. So let's make sure our face select mode active. Let's select all the faces we want to add the spikes to. So I'll just drag starting from here, drag to select this entire face here. Then I'll go to back, hold shift, drag to select this entire face here once again. So we have everything nicely selected. So once we have everything nicely selected, once again, let's hit on X to go to our right orthographic view once again. Let's turn on our reference image, and then let's hold shift control to deselect the place that our label or the logo of the brand is going to be, right? So we can hit on shift control click to deselect that area from our scene. So let's just click to deselect that entire area from our selection, right? So we have something like this, right? So nicely, so we have something like this. So once we have this selected, can right click, poke faces. So once we do that, all the faces selected are going to be turned into triangles nicely. This is what we want, except the faces that are not selected, right? So this side is not selected, the inner part, and then everything else is not selected, right? So once we have this, the next thing we are going to do is to select these edges here. The next thing we are going to do is going to select these edges, the edges we just created. So where all the triangles meet, we're going to select these points here. So instead of doing this manually, there's a cool trick we can do. We just have to select one edge, go to our select similar, and then we can go to amount of connecting edges, and then it is going to select all the edges that have similar amount of connecting edges, which is 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then but then this is what we want, but then it's going to select other parts that we don't want as well. So it's going to select all these parts and then all the inner parts as well. So how will we be able to select only the parts that we want? Now let me go back. I'm just going to go back a little bit to the point where we do the poke faces. So we can do Control Z to go back 1, Control Z 2, Control Z 3, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, until we have all these selected. So I just went back a couple of times until we have everything selected. So once we are here, we can now select the other part. So let's go to select, and then let's invert our selection. Let's make sure we have our faces selected. Let me go back once again. Make sure we have our face mode selected, right? And then we can go to our select, and then let's invert our selection so that we have all the other parts selected without this part. So once we have this selected, we can hit on H to hide it from our scene, right? So it's hidden, it's temporarily hidden from our scene nicely like this. So once we've hidden all those parts, we can come back to our point select mode, select this point, go back to our select, and then we can go to select all by traits, select similar, and then we go to amount of connecting edges, and we have all these edges connecting nicely selected. So once we have this selected, we have Alt S to scale, to shrink, and then we can increase it out a little bit like this to create all those nice spikes that we see. So let's go to our wireframe mode. Then maybe we can go to this side, and then maybe let's select this small part here. Let's just drag till we have this side selected, and then let's just Alt S to bring it down a little bit like this. It's looking nice and simple. So now we can go to our wireframe mode, hit on tab to jump out of edit mode. This is what we have. Tab into edit mode. This is what we have. So far so good. So let's tab into edit mode, and then we can hit on Alt H to bring back all the parts that were hidden. Right. So that we have this nice and simple. So we are almost done with our bottle. Let's right click and then let's shade it smooth. And then let's add in a subdivision. So we can do Ctrl+1 to add one level of subdivision. It's looking nice so far. Then let's go to our modifiers tab. You see we have our subdivision added. Let's add in a bevel modifier. So we can go to generate and then bevel to add in a bevel modifier. Let's just bring the bevel on top of our subdivision. So we have this, right? So at this point, you might want to save your file in case Blender tries to crash on you. So we can do Ctrl+S, and then we can save our file nicely, right? So once you have your file saved, let's add in some segments. So we can do 2 to add in 2 level of segment. Maybe decrease the bevel a little bit, right? Depending on how sharp you want this. I'm going to increase this a little, right? Something like this is fine. So 0.04 works for me. Right click and then let's shade it smooth, so that we have this smooth shading going on for us. So we're almost done with our bottle. Let's tackle the top part, right? So let's tab out of edit mode. Let's tab into edit mode. Let's tab into edit mode. Go to our edge select mode. Alt click to select this loop here. Then we can do Shift S cursor to select it to bring our cursor right in the middle here. Let's tab out of edit mode. Then let's add in another circle. So we can do Shift A and then circle. Then let's add in a circle right here. Let's make sure we have the vertices set to 16. I think 16 work. And let's hit on S to scale it down until it's roughly the same size like this. Then G to bring it down nicely like this. So you can always check back on our reference image. So we can go to our X to see our reference image. Then we can do G to bring it down so we have something like this. Then we can do E. Make sure we have our edit mode selected. We can do E to extrude it out to somewhere here. Then E extrude, S to scale it down. Then E extrude, G to bring it up. You can always check back on your reference image. Then E, S to scale it down. Let's go back to our reference image. Then we can do E, Z to bring it up like this. G to bring it down. Then we can extrude it once again. E, S to scale. Then E to extrude it up like this. And then we can fill this part up quickly with a couple of extrusion. Then F to fill it out. Right. So this is what we have. Now let's see how we can create the spikes right here once again. So with this selected, we can do Ctrl R to add one loop cut right at the middle, and then Ctrl B to bevel the loop cuts till we have something like this, right? So once we have this entire part selected, let's make sure we have our face mode active. And then let's go to our select, and then we can do checker deselect to select each other face like this. So once we have this selected, we can right click and then go to poke faces to poke the faces we just deselected. And then next, we can go to our point select mode. Let's click, shift click to select all the points we just poked nicely. And then we can do Alt S to add in our spikes like this, right? So once we have this, we can right click, shade it smooth, Ctrl+1 to add in a subdivision, and then add in a modifier again. So we can add in a bevel modifier. Now let's bring the bevel modifier on top like this. Maybe increase the segment to 2, and then decrease the amount. Then maybe increase the angle. Increase the angle a little bit. Until you find something that works best for you, right? So I think something like this works nice and beautiful. So that's it for the top part. Then we are done with our perfume bottle. So let's quickly rename stuff. So we can just name this bottle, and then we can name the top parts as cap. So let's just select it, double click, and then we can name it as cap. Right, so we have the bottle and then we have the cap. Now let's set up our scene. Let's add in some materials and then add in some lighting. So I will just drag this side to create another window here, and then once we have this window here, we hit on N to hide this bar here, and we can hit on our camera to bring in our camera like this. Now let's change the orientation from landscape into portrait. So I'll just go to my render, so you can easily upload it onto your Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you want to. So I'll go back to my output. I'll set it to 1080 by 1350. We have a nice portrait like this. So let's hit on our camera once again, and then let's lock our camera into view, so we have something like this, right? So next, let's add in some material. But before we do that, let's just add in a platform that our bottle is going to stand on. So we do Shift A, add in a cube. It's going to be just a simple cube. G, bring it down somewhere here. Let's scale it down. Let's go to our X photographic view. I think we don't need our reference right for now, so we can hide our reference from our scene, or we can delete it completely. So I'll bring this here until it's touching, then S to scale it down, and then S on the X axis to scale it down like this, then G to bring it to somewhere here, right? So we have something like this, nice and beautiful. We can select this, tab into edit mode. Then I think let's just select this and then add in a little bit of subdivision, extrusion inside like this nicely. Tab out of edit mode, and then this is what we have, right? So next we can add in some light and then materials to see where we are going. So next I'll just drag this here, maybe unlock it, then lock it again, and then change this to our shader editor, and then change it from object to world. Let's just plug in an HDRI. So I'll select this, Control plus T, make sure you have your node wrangler add-on active. Go to your edit, reference, add-on, search for your node wrangler, and just make sure you have it active to do that. So once you have it active, just select this, Control plus T, to add in your environment, texture mapping, and all those cool stuff. So let's just hit on open, download your node from you can get free HDRIs. Just Google free HDRIs, download any of them, just plug in any of them, it doesn't really matter. Now let's go to our render. Let's change our render engine to cycles, and then let's hit on render to see what we have. So far this is what we have. Let's just go to our film, and let's make it transparent so that we don't see our HDRI. So we just go to our render, film transparent, so that we don't see our HDRI. So once we have this, we can start with our material. So let's change this from world to object, and then let's start from top to bottom, from easiest to hardest. So let's select this, add in a new material. We're going to make it metallic, as you can see, and then decrease the roughness a bit so that it's a bit rough. Then you can add in the color like this. So play with this. At this point, I encourage you to experiment, play with different colors, different roughness values, different material types, until you find something that works best for you. So once we have this, you can select this, do Control plus S to save our progress so far. and let's add in a couple of materials. So first, before we start adding in materials, let's check the normals our objects are facing. So we can go to here, then we can select face orientation, and voila, our bottle is in red. This is caused by the extrusion we did earlier on. So let's just select our bottle, tab into edit mode, A to select everything, and then we can do shift plus N to recalculate our normals. So once we do that, our normals will be recalculated, and then it is going to be turned into blue. So once we have this, everything is perfect. Let's just go back. Let's check out of our face orientation, and this is what we have. So let's select our bottle, new, and then let's unplug this, and then let's add in a glass shader. So let's just select, and then let's hit on glass to add in a glass shader. Nice, like this. I think it works. So we are not going to do any edits to it, unless maybe you want to play with the color of the glass shader. I'm going to leave it to white. Let's go to the hex. I'm going to set it to pure white, FFF, so that we have this. Now let's see how we can create the inner part, the product. So the inner part of our bottle, which is the perfume part, right? So to do that, let's just select our bottle, Shift D to create a duplicate. So let's do Shift D to create a duplicate, and then let's name that duplicate as perfume or content. Right. So once we have the duplicate selected, let's hit on slash to isolate it. I'll just go click here for it now. We'll come back to it. So once we have it isolated, let's hit on tab to go into edit mode. Let's make sure we have our face mode selected. Then let's alt click to select this entire ring here. Hit on X, and then let's delete faces. So once we have the faces deleted, we have now separated the inner part and then the outer part, right? So let's select the one side of the outer part. Then let's hit on L to select linked. So hit on L to select linked, and we can hit on X to delete it from our scene, right? So we have something like this. Next, we are going to alt click to select this part, X to delete it from our scene. Then let's fill this whole up. So make sure we have our edge select mode, alt click to select this edge, and then E, S, and then F to fill it up like this, right? So once we have this selected, we are going to hit on the plus to add in a new separate material just for this one. Then we are going to change the color a bit like this. We will come back to it later. First, let's check our orientation and make sure it's facing the right way, which is not. So let's tab into edit mode, hit on A to select everything, and then we can do Shift N to recalculate normals. Then we can go back here and then hide our face orientation, and then we can go back, hit on tab, hit on slash to bring back everything, and then this is what we have. So let's go to our wireframe mode. Now we have this, and then let's turn back our render mode once again so that we can see what we are doing. So once we have all these, maybe we can scale this up a little bit, or we can leave it as is. I think it's looking nice so far, so we are just not going to touch it. But if yours is not, you can just select it and then hit on S and then scale it up a little bit. But I'm going to leave it by the default. I think it looks fine for the purposes of this tutorial. So once we have everything set, next let's add in a backdrop. So I'll add in a plane, G to bring it back, rotate it. So we are going to rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees, and then S to scale it out like this. Then add in a new material, give it any color we want for now. We'll come back to it later, maybe make it a little bit darker like this. Nice. Go back to my solid shading mode. Nice and simple. So next, let's add in our own lighting. So let's go back to our world, and then let's remove this from the socket so that everything turns dark. Before we go much further, let's select our camera and let's change the angle. So let's make sure we have this set to GPU compute. Let's select our camera, and let's come to our angle, and then let's change it to something big. But before we do that, let's just add in our light. So we can do Shift A, and let's add light and then area light, then G Z to bring it up. Then we can scale it on the X axis like this. No, we can scale it on the Y axis like this, so that we have some light at the top. Maybe increase the power to 100. So feel free to play with it till you find something that works best for you. This is the point that you can play. So let's change the focal length of our camera to something higher. So let's say 90. You can scroll it down, maybe position it in place nicely like this, right? So once we have that, let's add in a couple of lights to our scene. Once again, you can do Shift A, light, add in an area light, G to bring it to the side, and then let's rotate it on the X axis till it's facing our model. Then we can do scale it up like this, and then maybe increase the power to, let's say, 400, right? So it's giving us a nice light reflection. Let's do G, bring it back, and then rotate it like this, so we're having some nice highlights here. So nice highlight here. Let's duplicate the light, bring it to the side, and then rotate it. So we have another nice light in here on the side. Maybe we can decrease the power for this one to, let's say, 300, right? Nicely. And then let's select this light again, Shift D to duplicate it and bring it forward. And let's rotate it till it's facing our object. And let's scale it this side, make it very big. So this is just going to be our fill light, the main light source. Can bring it back, maybe bring it to the side, R, make sure it's facing our object, scale it up. So this is just going to be the main light. Maybe we can increase the power to 1000. So it's filling in our scene very nicely. Next, let's focus on this. We are going to make it a glass. So let's change this to object, new, remove this from the socket. Then we can select our glass shader, and then put it inside like this. Maybe decrease the IOR. Make it very rough, so we have something like this. So with this selected, let's add in a bevel. So we can do Shift Control A, make it a scale, go to our modifiers tab, generate, and then let's add in a bevel modifier. Increase the segment to 3, and then decrease the bevel a little bit, right? We have a nice glass like this. Once again, right. Nice and beautiful. So next, feel free to play with the lighting and everything, but we are going to add in a gobo to make our scene pop up even more, right? So maybe we can Shift D to add in another light here, just to fill in this side. Maybe make this light a little bit bigger to fill in this side a little. We can do X to delete it from the scene. We bring this to the side just to make it dramatic and all. So just feel free to play with it till you find what works best for you. Maybe we can decrease the power of this to, or maybe bring it up, G, bring it up like this. So we have some lights here and then here as well. Next, let's add in a point light. So we can do P to add in a point light, bring it to this side. Then let's increase the point light, the power of the point light to 1000. Maybe 1000 is too much. Maybe a 500 looks nice. So it gives us some nice lighting at the back to reflect our content, right? So let's decrease the IOR to 1.34. Nice, beautiful, right? So lastly, let's select this and then let's make it metallic. We can play with the color, and then let's add in another light, which is going to be a spotlight. G, let's bring it to the side. Then let's bring it here, and then here. And then let's point it towards our object like this, right? So once we have the spotlight pointed towards our object, let's increase the power to 1000. Right. Let's first hide all our lights so that we see what our spotlight is doing. So this is the spotlight. Let's select this light. And let's hide it for a second so that we can see our spotlight. So let's just increase the power to, let's say, 2000. So let's select our spotlight and then let's increase the power to, let's say, 2000. So this is what our spotlight is doing. Next, let's add in our gobo. So with the spotlight selected, we are going to hit on the use node to use our node. Then once we have the node set up like this, make sure we have in the object mode, and then we have the spotlight selected. So select the emission, Ctrl+T to plug in an image texture. So here is where we are going to open our gobo. So we are just going to hit on new and then locate our gobos. I'm going to leave this link to this gobo in the description below, but in case you want to have access to all these gobos, I'm going to leave a link once again to purchase my product, which is paid, and you have all these gobos, the models and all the other cool stuff. So I'll just double click to select this window to add in this nice window gobo to our scene like this. So as you can see, we have this nice detail being applied to our scene. So once we have this selected and we have our spotlight selected, let's increase the radius a bit to soften our gobo like this. And then maybe we can increase the strength a bit like this. Nice and beautiful. Then we can increase the spot, and then let's increase the blend. Right, so it's looking very nice, professional and beautiful. So once we have this, we can maybe turn back our main area light like this. We're just filling in our scene very nicely. Maybe I'll decrease the power a bit, and then maybe bring it to this side a little bit like this, or maybe decrease the power to just 1000. Nice. So we'll just play with the gobo. Maybe bring it closer or back nicely to add in a little bit of detail. Bring it to this side. Maybe decrease the radius a little bit. Right, so it's looking nice and beautiful. So once you have your desired tinker with it, play along with it till you find something that works for you. So once you have your desired desired scene, then it's time for you to render. So we go back to our render properties, maybe play with the color management. So we come down to our color management and then change the look. Maybe we go with a high contrast if that's what you're going for, or maybe medium high, or maybe very high contrast. So play with it to find what works best for you. I'll go with a high contrast, and then maybe you can change this to the latest one, which is the Chronos. It's very reddish, or go with the AGIX. Select this, maybe decrease the roughness. So just play with it till you find something that works best for you, or maybe play with the color a little bit with the look and feel. So once you have everything nice and set, then you can go to your render maybe I'll set my mouse sample to 100 just for the purpose of this tutorial. Where the higher the mouse sample, the more nicer your final render looks, but then the longer it takes. Then you can go to a render and then you can render your final image like this, right? So this is how the render is looking so far. One more thing before we go, I think we are missing our label right here, so let's quickly add that in and then we can do our final render, I promise. So let's select this image here, tab into edit mode, and then let's select these faces. So make sure we have our face select mode active. Alt select this, control shift click, no, select this, control click, sorry, select this, control click to select this, and then control click to select. Yeah, let's just select them one by one. Okay, it's not working for some reason. Blender is. So once we have this entire part selected, we can do shift plus D to create a duplicate like this. Right click to keep it in place, and then we can hit on P, and then we can separate by selection, right? So once we have it separated by selection, we have bottle 111. So this is it. So let's tab out of edit mode, and then this is it, right? So once we have this, let's just double click, select it, and then let's rename it as label, and then we have our label here, right? So once we have the label, let's go to our modifiers tab. We don't want the subdivision, and then I think we don't want the bevel as well, right? So we can hit on G, bring it out a little bit like this, right? So we have the label. In the materials tab, let's just hit on here to remove that material from it. Then let's hit on new to add in a new material, right? So with this new material, we are going to do shift A, then add in a mix shader. So with this new material, let's do shift A, and then let's add in a mix shader. Let's put the mix shader right in the middle like this. Then we are going to use our label as our label to mix between two shaders. So let's do shift A once again. Let's select this, and then let's do control plus T to add in an image texture for now. And let's hit on open to open our label. It's just a simple label written on with Valentino. So I'll just hit on open to open the label, and then we can, let's plug this in straightforward to see what we have, right? So let's just quickly jump into the UV and then set the UV up properly. So go to UV, select this, A to select everything. So this is what we have. Let's just select this. Then once we have this selected, we can do G, then position it in place, then S to scale it up until it's fitting properly as it is supposed to. Position it nicely in our scene like this. So once we have this position, we can go back to our layer, and then we can see it's nicely in our scene like this, right? So once we have this, we can now plug the mix shader. Then we are going to use this as a mask to mix between two principal BSDF. So I'll select this, shift D to create a duplicate, then change this to red for now, then plug this in the second shader. Then we can use this as here. So what we're doing is we are using this as a mask to share these two shaders, right? So the first one will appear where the black is, and then the second one will appear where the white is, which we have this. So first, let's play with the second one. Let's make it metallic, right? And then let's decrease the roughness a little bit. Then maybe let's change the color to something like this. Maybe you can play with the roughness a little bit. Now let's do the same thing here. And just drag and drop the color here to make sure they are sharing the same color. Let's make it metallic as well. And then with this selected, let's just select this image, bring it back. Then we are going to use this to play with the normal. So let's add in some bump. So we do shift A, then let's look for bump. Then we can add a bump node here, plug the normal into normal, and then we are going to use this color into the height like this, right? So let me scroll my mouse wheel and you can see what we are doing. We have some bump, right, nicely like this, using this method. Nice bump inside. So this is what we are looking for. Then I think maybe we can decrease our roughness a little bit like this, or maybe change the color nicely like this, right? I think it's looking nice and beautiful. So you can position your object in frame once again. And then maybe finally you can hit on your render to render your final scene. So go to your render and then render image to render your final image. Thank you very much for watching. It's my friend. See you on the next one. Peace out. So this is the final image. You can just go to your image, save as, and then you can save your final image, PNG or JPEG. Any of them works. So just save your final image. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it to this part, it's my friend. See you on the next one. Peace out.